Good morning, guys, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about being an independent courier. Right now, I am in my car. I just picked up my load that's going to Savannah, Georgia, and I am waiting to get on the highway. But anyway, like I said, we're talking about what it takes to be an independent courier. I've been an independent courier for about 6 months currently. I started out last year before last 2 months, and the year before last. And I just wanted to test it out. And I found this YouTuber called JT Hustles online, and I was watching his videos, and he was talking about being an independent courier. I ain't never heard of it before. I've been working jobs, different kinds of jobs all my life, and I've always been looking for ways that I can make money on my own, working from home or working independently. Well, actually, I wasn't thinking about working independently. I was just more thinking of working from home. So when he brought the idea of becoming an independent courier, that piqued my interest. So he talked about how he was an independent courier and how companies paid him to deliver stuff, and he was on his own, and like I said, that piqued my interest. So I tested it out because it was around October, and I was thinking about moving from Ohio to Georgia, and I wanted to test out the waters to see if it was something that I can take with me to Georgia to be able to have work in Georgia. So I tested it out, and yeah, I really liked it. I had worked with 2 different companies. The first company I quit after maybe a month. I let the contract go. I knew I was moving from Ohio, and they were requiring me to get some kind of unemployment insurance for Ohio, which I had to pay for, and it was $100 and something. And that wasn't something that I was willing to do because I knew that I was moving and leaving there anyway. And besides, the second company that I was working for, they told me that in the state of Ohio, I wasn't required to get that if I didn't have any employees. So when that other company told me that I was required to get that, I just decided to let them go because I wasn't going to go and deal with that hassle. So I kept working with the second company, and they were pretty good. I had this one contract right before I left. I did it for a couple of weeks where I was picking up labs from different doctors' offices and hospitals and bringing them back to the lab office. And that was pretty good. I made about $750 a week doing that, $150 a night. So that was pretty cool. The only thing that I didn't like, which was my confirmation to leave Ohio, was the snow, having to drive in the snow, because you have to drive and be able to drive in all types of weather if you want to, keep your money consistent. And that was the only hiccup I had with that when I was in Ohio, was driving in the snow, because the day before that I left, it snowed and it iced real bad, and I was going up this hill, and my car kind of started sliding back down the hill and slid into a ditch. So that was scary for the last day of driving with that company, but that was to be expected. So I moved to Georgia, and I couldn't find any companies that was close enough to where I was in Georgia where it made sense. I live near Augusta, Georgia, so at the time when I moved here, the closest company was in Columbia, South Carolina. So that's about 80 miles out. And I was figuring that driving 80 miles every day just to start a route and you only get paid for a route from the pickup location to the delivery. At the time, it just really didn't make sense to me. So I started doing a bunch of different gig works. I started doing Lyft. I started doing different gig stuff on apps where I was, helping install, helping set up stores like the Dollar Generals and stuff like that. I started helping set up stores. I started doing overnight stocking where I was working in Walmart as gig. I wasn't an employee of Walmart. I was doing it as a temp, and it was gig. So just a lot of stuff where I was getting paid daily or every other day, whatever, and temp work. And when I got back into the independent contractor job that I'm doing now, I was actually on a temp job. So I was doing what I'm doing now as a part-time basis. And while I was on that job, I had got a message, because everything is done through the app as well as the dispatcher calls you. So I had got a message about a job that was paying, I think it was $175 to take it to Charleston. And I couldn't accept the job because I was on my temp job that I had a commitment to. So it just got me to thinking I could make some real money with this. And once that temp job was coming to an end, I decided to do this full time. Now, this company that I'm with, they wasn't in the Augusta area before, but when they came to Augusta area, I jumped right on it. And one tip that I got from JT was don't accept less than $1 minimum per mile. And he made a video a couple of years, maybe 3-4 years ago, if that long, he made a video where he said that. So it might be different now, but that's what I go by. So the company that I'm with, I make $1 per mile. There are different ways that you can make money with these companies. You just have to go into it knowing what you want, because you are an independent contractor. You are your own boss. This is not a job. They are not your employer. They are not responsible for what happens to you or your car. You are responsible for it. You have to get cargo insurance. You have to have a certain type of insurance on your car. So all of this stuff is your responsibility. This is your business. And whether you go into business doing it by yourself, like I'm doing, or you go into business as an owner who hires employees and have somebody else do the jobs, it's still a business all the same. So you have to look at it and think about, do your research and figure out how you plan on going into this business. There are multiple ways of getting paid, so you have to research that as well. You can get paid by the mile, you can get paid piece by piece, or you can get paid a flat rate. I've even seen where they have couriers where it's actually a job. So you have to look at all of that. Because when I went into this, I went into it as it being an independent contract where I can say whether or not I want to do the job or not. I can say whether or not I want to spend 2 hours a day driving or I want to spend 8 hours a day driving. I have total control over that. So when going into this type of business, you have to do your research. You have to know exactly what you want. There's opportunities to make lots of money, and there's opportunities where you don't make any money at all. So that's where the research comes in, with figuring out what company you want to go with, whether you're going to do this on your own and go direct and find the companies find the people, the contacts, the customers on your own that you're going to deliver for, or whether you're going to go with a company who has all that set up. I decided to stick with the company because starting out, you should start out with a company to get a feel for it. And I decided to stick with the company because I don't want to deal with the hassle of trying to figure out all of that extra stuff. So they do all of the extra work in the background. I have access to the app. They send me jobs through the app. I have the choice through the app whether to accept the job. And not only will they send the job to the app, they give me a phone call and ask me, can I do the job? And if I say I can't do the job, they'll take the job away from me out of the app. One tip that I would suggest is that don't get into the habit of saying no all the time, even though you have the option to say yes or no, and by all means, utilize that option whenever needed, but don't get in the habit of saying no all the time, because the dispatchers know who they can depend on. So if they know they're calling you and you're always saying no, they're not going to call you and you're not going to get any work. You're not going to make any money. So there's no need to complain because you always say no when they call you. So don't get in the habit of saying no all the time. Number 2 is don't get in the habit of saying yes to everything. That's the mistake that I made because I wanted them to know that they can depend on me. So everything they called me about, I was like, yes. Excuse me. I was like, yes. I was saying yes to everything. And then one day they called me and I said, yes, I can do it. And I was actually in the middle of, I was at a dentist appointment and I was waiting to be finished, waiting for the dentist to finish doing what they do on my teeth. And by the time I got out of there and was able to go pick up the order and stuff, the order was late. So I winded up having to pick up the order and deliver it to another driver where the driver could take it on the rest of the way because I also had my commitments, my regulars for the day. And they didn't want me late for my regulars, so that's what winded up happening. And then they never said anything, but after that, I kind of felt like they were hesitant to give me anything, even though I said yes to everything. Most of the time, they were hesitant to give me anything because I made that particular order late. So my suggestion to you as well is if you know you can't do it or you're in the middle of doing something, at least tell them, hey, I won't be able to pick up this order until such and such because this is what I'm doing. Is that okay? And if they say no, they'll give the order to somebody else. I mean, if they say that's fine, sometimes they'll say, well, let me call the customer and see if it's okay to get there at such and such time. You have to be in total communication with the dispatchers so that they can be in communication with the customers and be able to work with you. So remember that. Don't always say no and don't always say yes unless you know that you can pick up that order and deliver it on time. The second thing I wanted to tell you is I already touched base on that there's different ways of making money in this business, but I wanted to go further into that. It is very important that you research how these companies pay. I'm going to give you an example. The company that I'm with, they started recently slowing down, so I gave them like a week where I didn't look for anything, and about a week and a half later, I started just looking for another contract, just to have another contract to bring in some more money. Well, this particular company, I'm not going to mention the name, I did the drug test, I had done spoke with them already, and I was already hesitant because, like I told y'all before, that another way of them paying you is piece by piece. So this particular company was paying piece by piece, and I know the freedom that I already have and that I want. So I was hesitant about it, but I did make it known to them that I don't do residential deliveries. That's another thing. You need to know what kind of deliveries that you want to do. So I made sure to tell them I don't do residential deliveries, I only do business to business. And they said they had business to business, but that's also piece by piece. So I did the drug test and everything and did some paperwork. And then the final thing, after the background and all that stuff came back, they sent over the contract for me to sign. So with my hesitation with knowing that they paid piece by piece, I really wanted to get an understanding of what was in this contract, because normally I just sign the contract and I just know I'm going to do the job, and if I don't do the job, then I tell them I don't want to do it. But something that particular day just told me to read the contract. So I started reading the contract, and in the contract, it told me that there is no guarantee that you will make a profit. So, of course, in my mind, I'm like, you already kind of know this if you don't plan your stuff right. But to actually have that in the contract, I was like, no, that's a no-go for me. And then the second thing that was a no-go for me was I wanted to see what was the process for ending the contract if it didn't work out for me. And in their contract, it said that you had to give 2 weeks notice. Now, mind you, you are an independent contractor, so this is not a job. In a job, you normally have to give 2 weeks notice. But this particular contract said you had to give 2 weeks notice, and there's no guarantee that you would make a profit. So my mind said, if there's no guarantee that I will make a profit, and I start driving this and I don't make a profit, I fall in the red a whole lot and I'm ready to quit. That means I got to continue driving for 2 weeks at my expense and not making no money. So I said, no, that ain't gonna work for me. I am not signing this contract. So I decided not to sign the contract, and I'm just, grateful and sticking it out with the company that I have. And the good thing about that, me making that decision is, the good thing about that and me making that decision is that the company that I'm with, they always call me anyway when they have stuff, and she started calling me and things started picking up. So it's still kind of slow, but it's starting to pick up more, and every week my pay is going up, just like when I started. So that's with that. You have to know how you want to get paid, piece by piece. That kind of deal, I come to find out, is you can be driving 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day to make any real money. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, and that's delivering 50, 60 packages a day. That's a whole job. I didn't get into this to do a job. So that's what it's going to come down to, you trying to figure out whether you got into this to do a job on your own, or whether you got into this to, have some freedom. Like myself, I came into this to have freedom, to be able to work when I want to, work when I need to be able to take off when I want, take vacations when I want, not having to worry about whether I have PTO time, not having to worry about whether I have points to use, not having to worry about whether I'm going to get fired or not. That's how I came into this industry. I didn't come into this industry wanting to do this as a 9 to 5. I didn't come into this wanting to do this as working 10, 14 hours a day. I've done that already. I've had jobs where I've worked 14 hours a day and I was away from my kids. So I have one more son who's in the house, and I'm trying to spend as much time as I want and need with him, as well as take care of my bills. So the what I'm doing allows me to do that. And driving piece by piece, getting paid $1.50 per piece, having to deliver 50 and 60 packages at a time just to make what I need to make. Whereas getting paid by the mile like I do, I get paid $1 per mile, and I can have a customer that I go pick up from one box and drive 140 miles and get $140. That'll take me I'm actually doing that now. I'm actually on the way to Savannah, Georgia, where I have this one print item sitting in the back of my car that I have to take to Savannah, Georgia. And it's 140 miles, and I'm getting paid $140. And they also called me and said that there's a pickup from there that needs to go to Fripp's Island, South Carolina. And it's about 90 pounds that I have to take there. And that's about 65 miles, which is $65. So once I deliver those 2 deliveries, I'm done for the day. And yes, it's going to take me about 7 hours to complete it, but it's only 2 stops. It's two stops, 7 hours out the day, which is not bad with just 2 stops, and I'm done. I don't have no time restrictions because I have to deliver to this house, that house, this business, that business. I don't have any of that. Yes, there's a time on it, but I have until 5 o'clock p.m. I started at 7, I got until 5 o'clock p.m. to make both the deliveries. So I can stop when I please, I can go when I please, as long as I make the delivery on time. And that's that. So that's what it comes down to, doing your research and figuring out what you want to do. The third thing I wanted to talk to you about is whether you want to do this as a business, as far as hiring employees and just getting a bunch of contracts and having employees run the routes for you, or whether you want to run it on your own. Like I said, I run mine on my own. I got into it because I wanted to travel. I've always said I wanted to travel, and my ultimate goal was to travel once my kids graduated from school and was out the house. My oldest is 21. He's out the house. I have a 15-year-old in the house now. And to have the opportunity to, even though I'm not traveling out of the country or anything like that, but to still travel out of the local vicinity into different states that I've never been before and get paid for it, that is a true blessing. And that is why I got into it, so that I can drive and travel on my own. But like I said, you can go into it hiring employees, getting your own contracts, getting a bunch of different contracts, and having these employees drive the route for you. That's your business, if that's what you want to do. I don't know anything about how to do that. There's a lot of people who do it that way, and they also get their own contracts direct, as well as they work with companies and contract as well. So those are some options. Those are some ideas when thinking about getting into this business. It's easy to find companies to try it out and see if this is something that you want to do. You can go on Craigslist. I particularly don't use Craigslist, but a lot of people said they do. So you can go on Craigslist and look for contracts and companies that have contracts. You can go on, type it in Google search, independent contractor, independent driver, type it in Google search, or you can go on Indeed. I particularly use Indeed. That's how I found the company that I'm with, and I'm finding that Indeed is starting to have a lot more postings of independent contractors in there. So this video was basically to, take you with me and tell you just a couple of tips and ideas on how to get started, on why I got started, and again, like I said, to take you with me. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, And I will see you in the next video.